Hey, it's Liberty, and today I'm going to be ranking some book tropes. Sometimes they're done really well and so good, but other times it can fall flat. So I'm going to be talking all my favourite and least favourite examples, and hopefully it will help my writing. Now, obviously, these tropes will occur together in the same story, but I'm judging this based on, if a book is just this trope on its own, how do I feel about it? If you like this, do give it a thumbs up, and I make videos all about books, history, culture, etc. So do check those out and subscribe if you would like to. I'm going to get straight into it. So I have picked a sort of top 20 tropes that I want to talk about, and they are as follows. Billionaire romance, character dies at the end, chosen one, don't end up together, enemies to lovers, fake dating, fish out of water, forbidden love, forced proximity, found family, friends to lovers, grumpy versus sunshine, love triangle, marriage of convenience, reformed rake, sacrificing your life, second chance, secret identity / secret powers, unrequited love / pining, and villain's perspective. Hey, this is Editing Liberty with a cold, just popping in to say I know at various points during this video my face and my neck look two completely different colours. My skin colour changes daily. I don't know if this is a mixed heritage thing. I think it probably is. I picked powder that day and I shouldn't have, and this is what's happened. And I film my videos in front of a window with lots of natural light coming in and hitting my face. So yeah. Coming in last place is billionaire romance. I don't mind it so much in K-dramas because there's other things going on. Business Proposal is so good. But outside of that, I'm not a big reader of that side of romance where this trope thrives, let's put it that way. There's kind of nowhere to go with that. It's either billionaire's family don't approve or someone kidnaps the love interest to get at the billionaire. And both of these are pretty much meh, tension-wise for me. Second to last place is don't end up together. I feel like you go on a journey with two characters and then to turn around and have them not end up together feels a bit anticlimactic, especially when judging these tropes on their own. I feel like giving examples is massively spoilery, so I won't. Next in 18th place is character dies at the end. It kind of depends on what the story is about, but I've had my fill of depressing medical stories, and in terms of other stories, when you spent all that time with the character, it personally bugs me if they are a main character, when they don't get to experience the joy of all things coming right at the end. So either way, I'm not the biggest fan. Again, examples are spoilery, so I won't give any. Yeah, I'm a historical fiction fan and fantasy fan, so obviously characters have to die. It would be weird if they didn't, especially as I read a lot of historical murder mysteries. Coming close on its heels similarly is Sacrificing Your Life. Again, examples are spoilers, so I won't. This ranks above character dies at the end for me because at least with Sacrificing Your Life, it has a purpose story-wise when it's done well, obviously. But it still gives low levels of satisfaction for the reader. Next is Marriage of Convenience. This is quite low because personally I've never read that many of them to sort of feel good about them. On its own, again, you kind of have two ways that it's going to end. They fall in love or one of them dies and the survivor has a better life without them. Or and a second marriage and stuff. Rather not read it. After Marriage of Convenience is fake dating. There are many examples of this, from Ali Hazelwood's novels, The Spanish Love Deception, The Kish Quotient, Boyfriend Material. It's a very, very popular trope, especially now. I'm not bashing this trope. Better Than the Movies was one of my favourite reads from last year. The reason why it's so low is because I'm tired of it. I see these books everywhere. Every time I go into Waterstones, they're all on the table. I get the appeal, I really do. The tension involved in sort of catching feelings when you aren't supposed to is really fun to read. The potential for drama and angst and conflict in situations are kind of endless. I recently watched Purple Hearts on Netflix and I get it. But yeah, this trope has been very popular and so I'm not going to be reading anytime soon. Next is Second Chance. There are examples of this trope that I love, like Persuasion, but I was thinking I couldn't name any iconic second chance romances or even the ones I've read from the top of my head, so it couldn't really go that high. In theory, Second Chance is great because obviously you're dealing with two characters who have a history and therefore tension with regards to their past feelings for each other. There's always plenty of angst involved, but also I hate watching films like that one with Lily Collins, which has got Rosie in the title, I can never remember what it is, or One Day, which is obviously a book and a film, which I'm pretty sure I've read and seen both. I don't remember any of it, so that goes to show how I feel about it. So basically my feelings are kind of like, I'm okay with second chance as long as I don't have to experience the agony of like the character's winding road where they are with other people and then the other person is with other people. I feel like I'm expected to be happy in the end because they get together, but they've wasted so much time not being together, often through like miscommunication, which I just hate. That is my worst thing. No, just talk. God, and now I'm thinking this should have been lower. But no, this is, yeah, I'm happy. Next is the chosen one trope. As someone born in 1994, I have grown up around chosen one stories, from Harry Potter, His Dark Materials, Narnia. I've read so many and I enjoyed them at the time, but I think as a society we've moved away from chosen one stories. I'm personally more intrigued by a main character that has some kind of like personal quality that makes them the best person to solve the problem, or someone who just really right place, right time, or wrong place, wrong time, and really sort of rises to the occasion. Growing into a prophecy has an inevitability to it, which takes tension out of the story. You know they'll survive to the end at least. They have to beat the final boss. When books flip things on their heads with this trope, it's really interesting. For example, Lord of the Rings. Aragorn is basically the chosen one, yet it's Frodo whom the fate of Middle-earth rests on. Same thing with Game of Thrones. Dany and Jon are both obviously like chosen one characters, and that's what makes me think that neither of them are going to end up on the throne at the end, because they will be a part of defeating the White Walkers, but there will be other people involved. Obviously, we know Bran is going to be a huge part of that. I made a whole TikTok about how I believe that Rhaegar knew that the Azor Ahai prophecy and the Prince that was promised prophecies were separate. And obviously now we know this. House of the Dragon has made this sort of semi-canon, but he was deliberately trying to make Jon into both of these prophecies in one person. George R. R. Martin has always talked about how much he loves subverting tropes. So anyway, I'm getting off track. So moving on. Next is villain's perspective. There's a saying that every villain is a hero in his own story. And with this trope, you can really see that. Watching how people justify their actions is fascinating to me, especially as there's often like a backstory with lots of pain and, you know, suffering that turns them into who they are. And I think as humans, we like to understand evil. It's kind of comforting to us in a way that women like true crime for a reason. And I think we all like the idea of redemption as well. And I think understanding someone, this would be higher, but I actually haven't read that many Villain's Perspective. But one of my ultimate favourite books is Villain's Perspective, which is Circe by Madeline Miller. Circe is one of the villains of Greek mythology. She's an enchantress. She waylays Odysseus in the Odyssey when he's just trying to get home to his wife. Insights into her mind in this novel show us a more complicated character, way more than the simple narrative that we get from all these men writing thousands of years ago. Circe very much led the way in terms of all of these Greek, you know, women-centered retellings that we've been seeing over the last few years, which is coming to an end now. I think I've not seen any new ones being published, or many new ones being published, so we'll see. So in 11th place is the fish out of water trope. Fish out of water is a great narrative device that allows you to experience the world as the character does. World building is so much easier because everything is new to you as the reader. It's new to your main character. I mean, this could be anything from Stardust to Twilight to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy to Jane Eyre and beyond. This obviously heightens tension and ups conflict. Watching people adjust to a new reality allows us to sort of learn more about them, how they react to unknown circumstances, empathise with them, root for them. Obviously, this trope is best when it's combined with others to create a sort of more compelling narrative. Right, made it to the top 10 now. In 10th place is love triangles. Again, this is one trope that is very, very popular and you have to be very choosy. A couple of my personal favourite love triangles: Never Let Me Go, War and Peace, A Room with a View. I've got to say, we call all of these love triangles. In reality, they're love arrows, aren't they? I'd be very interested in reading actual love triangle where all three of them are actually in love with each other. I think that'd be fascinating. If anyone has any recommendations, do let me know. Obviously, this trope is incredibly engaging. There's always so much drama. I also feel like there's a part of all of us that secretly likes the idea of having multiple people be interested in you, especially when you're a teenager and you feel like nobody likes you. There's also like the real possibility that the character you like most out of the two as a reader isn't the most compatible with the main character. Second lead syndrome hits hard, whether you're watching TV or reading a book. It's a classic trope for a reason and definitely deserves a place in my top 10. In ninth place is Forbidden Love. The American TV networks went crazy with this trope in the noughties and 2010s. Aria and Pretty Little Liars did not have a relationship that did not start in an illegal way. But back to literature. Obviously, we've got things like Romeo and Juliet, Cinder, Ember in the Ashes, The Night Circus, Noughts and Crosses. The Night Circus is probably my favourite example of this trope. You know, two people being on opposite sides of a magical bet falling in love, when one of them is destined to survive. There's so much narrative and emotional tension there, and it's hot. People don't like being told what they can and can't do, who they can and can't love. So it's something that everyone can resonate with those feelings. In eighth place is Secret Identity or Secret Powers. From Spider-Man to the Red Queen, there's a spectrum of options when it comes to this trope, and there's so much scope for tension. Are they going to be found out? Are they being hunted? Who is hunting them? The first Divergent book, I feel like, is a really great dystopian example of this trope. I really liked reading the whole process of getting to grips with a new power. I think that's why magical school books do really well. We like to see the experience of learning and growing. It's a universal, relatable thing, like growing up, going to school, learning things, becoming an adult, getting used to change. And also they're like being a part of yourself that you don't reveal to the world, or you reveal to, your close friends. I think that's, especially as an introvert, that's very relatable. In seventh place is Unrequited Love / Pining. There is nothing like pining to really make the catharsis even better when a couple gets together, especially when it speaks to some kind of personal weakness or fear or personal history from our protagonist. We need that grit. Personally, I don't like this in romance novels. I need something else to be going on, some kind of action or fantasy, because quite a lot of the time the drama included to make them not be together feels forced or fake. But as I only started getting into romance in the last few years, I haven't been bitten by a bad one of these yet. That's why this is quite high. In sixth place is Reformed Rake. There was a saying in Regency England that reformed rakes make the best husband. When you read books about writing and story, you often see people talking about the protagonist being confronted by their opposite and being forced to grow from that experience, and that's what makes a good character arc. And while Reformed Rake can seem like a played out trope, when it's done very well, it's very enjoyable. Monty from A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue is the perfect example of this, and actually this is the perfect segue because there's a lot of this next trope also in A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. Rounding out the top 5, in fifth place is Forced Proximity. Childhood friends forced to be in the same class again after years of not speaking. Complete strangers forced to run for their lives together. This is all about bringing people together who are perfect for each other but would not otherwise have been brought together. Extra points when it's action or fantasy and they have to fight together. I love that. Wintrow's relationship with the Vivacia in The Ship of Magic is the perfect example of this. Is literally forced proximity. Again, it's all about that tension. Especially the higher the stakes, the better. But dear God, no kidnapping or anything involving Stockholm Syndrome. I do not go for that. I don't want it. Thank you. Fourth place is Friends to Lovers. This is one of those tropes that tops most people's lists. Heartwarming, obviously, pure friends to lovers, like that concept where neither of them realise their feelings, or both of them are hiding their feelings, or one of them realises before the other. That's what I like. You've already got two characters who are bonded by friendship. They have an established relationship, they have connections, and you just throw a wrench in the works. The tension, the anxiety, love it. Emma is a great example of this on her side. On his side, as much as I love this book, it is super weird to watch a child grow up and then fall in love with them as an adult. It's still one of my favourite books, but I just have to put that aside every time I pick it up, because it's so weird. So now we're in the top 3, and in third place is Grumpy versus Sunshine. It's a very appealing dynamic. It's the contrast, the opposites attract, that causes so much tension and is so fun to read. Nina and Matthias in Six of Crows is a great example of this. I've not read these, but Beach Read and The Love Hypothesis are both examples of this. Anything that creates conflict in a story is good, and personality clashes are a perfect way to do that. It's entertaining and fun to watch people get on other people's nerves. Talking of clashes, in second place, a silver medal goes to enemies to lovers. This trope is universally loved. I feel like you can't go wrong. Balancing act. They need to hate each other at the start, but not too much, because that'll make them getting together at the end unbelievable. I'm not really a slice of life person in TV or books. I need meat to my story, and enemies to lovers provides that in spades. Sorcery of Thorns, I love this book. The pacing and the action and their relationship works really well. Now it's time for first place, which is Found Family. Six of Crows is literally one of my favourite books of all time. That duology is just incredible. So this was no surprise to me when I was working out my ranking. Found Family is all about people coming together, loving and protecting each other, not out of obligation or any blood ties, but because they have chosen each other. That's really powerful, and I think a lot of people worry that they're not good enough or that people don't really like them. Everyone's felt that at some point in their life. It's a universal experience, that anxiety. And so the found family trope is just so healing and comforting. Also, everyone loves a good group. These group dynamics, you've got potentially love interests in there. You've got best friendships. You've got acquaintances meeting for the first time and developing friendships. Especially within Six of Crows, you've got obviously the couples, but then Jesper and Inej have a great friendship. Kaz and Jesper have a great friendship. Inej and Nina, there's so much in there, and there's banter and joking, and so yeah, it's my favourite trope. I love it, and if you've got any recommendations, do let me know. Thank you for watching. That was a little fun trope ranking video. I have been in a bit of a book slump recently. I've been quite busy. I've got a lot of commutes coming up, so I will be trying to read a lot more and hopefully have more to say. Yeah, thank you for watching. If you like this, do give it a thumbs up. I make videos all about books, history, culture, so do check those out. I'm still reviewing Jane Eyre chapter by chapter. I will finish it by the end of the year. So do look out for those YouTube shorts. And yeah, happy reading.